Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters challenge. We have two classic old American brands. This is from 1870, not this particular whiskey, but this company, George Dickel, 1870 rye whiskey. This one is sourced from Indiana, however, it's not Tennessee rye whiskey, it's Indiana rye whiskey, and it's not straight rye whiskey, which means what? It was either not aged at least 2 years, or it was not aged in new charred oak barrels. They may have used charred oak barrels, once used. It says, well, we'll look off the website. There's a whole, this 750 milliliter bottle, 90 proof. I bought this at Walmart, believe it or not, true story. They had it on closeout for $8.50, $8.50. Like I wasn't going to buy that. Look up the prices for this in a normal setting, and it's far more expensive than $8.50, let me assure you. There's a new label design for 2020. If you look on the website, kind of sharpened up the label a little bit. Looks nice, more modern. It says 95% rye and 5% malted barley. So that's your malt mash bill. 5% malted barley, like we say malt whiskey from Scotland, right? Single malt whiskey. And 95% rye, chill filtered rye. They chill it and then they mellow it through charcoal. And they send the charcoal up from Tennessee to MGP, Midwest Grain Products. Tennessee rye, 70% rye, 100% Jack. So Jack Daniels is 70% rye. Why? Ask why. Just drink rye. Bold, spicy, and sipping smooth. It's not sourced. It's from Tennessee. Another incredible price. Got two 375 milliliters, so they're half-size bottles. $5.99 a piece, so that's what? $11.98 for a bottle. $11.98. More expensive than the Dickel. In my case, generally Jack Daniels rye is a little cheaper than the Dickel rye. But when I stumble across these deals, I'm like, I'll take it. And then I'll say to my friend David, I can't buy any more liquor. That's it. I got to stop. And then, of course, I don't stop because I keep finding these deals. It's like you get in a frenzy. You don't want to stop. Jack Daniels, JD. I mean, we talking like 60% off, 50% off, 70% off in some cases. So you don't resist. You say, why you don't? Now, some people say about my channel, oh, you're getting away from beer. No, I'm not. We just did a bunch of beer reviews yesterday over here. It's nothing like that. I don't find those kind of beer deals. You understand? I don't just say, oh, look, incredible. You will occasionally, like at the salvage store, they had 18-ounce bottles of Ice House for 99 cents. Yeah, well, then that's a good deal. And those were in date. They weren't out of date throw-offs, cast-offs. 99 divided by 18 times 12 times 12. That would translate to $7.92 a 12-pack, which these days, this day and age, is cheap. 10 years ago, that would have been expensive. Now, rubberized cork that you get from Diageo. Somebody asked me a while back, they said, Diageo bought out Guinness, huh? I said, no, Diageo is Guinness. In other words, it was Guinness that bought out everybody and merged with other companies, and they changed the name to Diageo. Instead of calling it Guinness, you see, that would be like one brand. So they they just made up this name. It doesn't really mean anything. They just made up Diageo, and but they didn't buy Guinness. They are Guinness. That's how big Guinness is. You know, the stout company. They own all the liquor companies. They own beer companies. Michael, we're bigger than U.S. Steel. Okay, I got to put a little more Dickel. Yesterday, I was able to tell them apart by virtue of what? The slightly higher proof of the Woodford Reserve. 90, I mean, it was like, what is it, 46% alcohol? No, 47%, something like, no, 45.2, it was some small amount, 90.4. So, as opposed to just 90. So it was like a little more proof, and it was detectable. You wouldn't think so, but it was. And then the rye bill was different. So I was able to tell the Woodford Reserve just had a bolder, more dense flavor, more alcoholic flavor. Not in the sense of like, oh, an alcoholic, an old drunk. No, I mean, just had more alcohol flavor. Now, and I think the Woodford Reserve is probably a little bit better than the Jack Daniel's rye. Now, I'm not too keen on Woodford Reserve bourbon. It's okay. It's actually excellent, I guess you could say. But it's the way people tout it, it doesn't really, to me, live up to that. Oh, but I like it, of course. And my daughter bought me a little sample bottle of that. This one in that little, looked like a little genie bottle. I didn't see that was too good. It was kind of bland. Anyway, back to this. This is going to be close. This is going to be close. Island Natty, Jerry, you still working in COVID-19? Yeah, my hours increased because of COVID-19. Jack Daniel's is a bit darker. JD. Now, I don't have a lot of rye whiskeys, so after this, that's it for now. I have Old Overholt that I bought at Walmart for $15.98, something like that. That's on the shelf, and it's unopened. My friend David said, yeah, that's a normal price, but it's not a bad price, actually. I say good. And he's keen to try it, of course. He was kind of hinting around yesterday he wanted to try that single malt scotch that I bought, but I wasn't ready to. He didn't explicitly say, so I didn't open it because I'm not ready to open it, the Glenmorangie. But I'm glad I didn't, because we had drunk enough beer, and then I had to really get going. I really needed to get going because I wanted to go to Mass yesterday at St. Hubert Church. Very old parish. Well, not very old, but pretty old, over 100 years old. They have the new church from 1967. The original church got blown down by a Hurricane Betsy. 1965, blew it down St. Peter's Church in the next town down the river, and didn't blow down the church in this town though. It's still standing. It's not used anymore, but it's still up. St. John Ark. It's funny how, but I guess what happens really in those hurricanes is little tornadoes. They got tornadoes going through. We can hear them. Sound like somebody running a weed eater. That's the bad thing about these hurricanes. They go on for maybe 6 hours of 70, 80 mile an hour wind gusts. So that's bad enough. And then the regular wind is just blowing constantly at 50. This is if it's a low level hurricane. And you hear trees falling everywhere. And I mean, stuff just starts giving way. The wind is blowing. So you just start seeing things getting loose because it's just blowing back and forth. So it's like it loosens screws and bolts. And then you just see metal flying. Might see your carport flying. I don't like them. But then you can hear those tornadoes. Wee, wee. It sounds like somebody out there with a weed eater, but it's like a weed eater that's the size of, like, you know, a football field. Wee. And I guess those tornadoes went through there and knocked down those churches. Whatever. No tropical storms in 2020 for Louisiana, and we'll be glad to keep it that way. Oh, well, yeah, there was one that went to Texas. We could feel it. You could feel the wind one day. It went on all day, that wind. It was way out in the Gulf, but it was blowing. I said, keep on going, but you hated to see it hit Corpus Christi. But this is pungent, mild rye whiskey. Pungent, mild rye. Okay, let's see. Pungent, mild, and rye. Rye whiskey will have that spicy note, be kind of like, in the nose is kind of like a rye bread. And I don't know how to explain that. Kind of like a Reuben sandwich. If you ever eat a Reuben, they use the rye bread. And it's like that Miracle Whip. It's from that company. You know that stuff they put, it's kind of like Thousand Island dressing and sauerkraut and corned beef. And usually they have some potato chips and kosher pickles. But that bread has this kind of smell. It's nice, mild. I think that's Jack Daniels because it's like really nice and mild. Yeah, I know. Of course, they're against churches. That's one of the main things that will stop their communist takeover, Christianity. And they're going to say it's fascist. You know, anything they don't like is fascist. That's how they operate. I know, believe me, I know what they're going to say before they say it. But there's only one good way to deal with terrorists, you know. Yeah, it has to be done. You hate to say it, but okay. But of course, one has to have an iron will when dealing with these parasites. An iron, unalterable goal will to deal with it. Because if one is ill, one must combat the virus, right? You combat a virus. You don't negotiate with it. You try to eradicate it. Okay, if not, you'll die. Like with cancer, you can negotiate with it. Well, these are both remarkably mild. I think I sloshed a little bit out. Do I feel any on the table? No. I don't know why I got my eyes closed. I'm not going to be able to notice a difference. They're so close in shade, like amber and a little bit darker amber. But I mean, it's minimal. What do they say about Jack Daniels? I mean, they always say stuff I can never remember. Time honored, charcoal, method. I'm not going to read all that because they give all these elaborate descriptions and I can't even remember. So it does not influence my tasting because I can't remember what they're saying. It goes on and on. Honey, you know, peppercorn, pumpernickel, you know, I was like, I'm not saying that those companies are lying. I don't say they are exaggerating. I'm just saying they probably have people that can taste things that are more able than I am, that can pick up all those elaborate fruits, nuts, berries, wood types, you know. Because I smell them and taste them and I'll say, I don't see that. I don't see all that. I mean, I can describe a lot of things, but not like these. Some of these that have a dozen, more than a dozen. Note, aroma, and taste. in their description. All right, these both smell clean, minty, peppery, grainy. You say grain. Yeah, you know, rye is a grain, and they're both at least 70% rye, so therefore it's going to smell like a grain, which is a peppery, spicy grain. They use it a lot in Canadian whiskey. Even Canadian whiskey for a while had a nickname, rye whiskey. People use that as a nickname, but it really wasn't that high of a rye note. It was just higher than American whiskeys, so they say rye. There is a Crown Royal rye. What's it called? Northern Harvest rye. I'd love to try that. There's the Canadian Club 100% rye. 100% rye. I'd love to try that. I'm looking to try the old Overholt. Oh, I could get into rye whiskey and never come back. You know what I mean? Never turn back. Cheers. So on aroma, I don't know. I don't know. Taste. It's just standard. I said this yesterday. It tastes like rye bread, a little pepper note, like spicy pepper, and mint. Some kind of, I don't know, is it spearmint, peppermint, some kind of mint. And menthol, you know, like a menthol, those little mini cigars or something like menthol. I said yesterday it tastes like Scope, you know, the mouthwash. And I wasn't saying it in a negative way, like to make fun of the product or anything. I just said it's what's reminding me of. Yes, this is not my real face. This is my mask. Okay. This one is a little more burny. You know, it has a little more burn quality to it. Oh, Islandetti, you don't have to type in all capital letters. You could just put it on regular letters, you know. Just type normal without capitals, all capitals. Some people don't like all caps. I don't really like all caps, unless it's like a movie poster or, you know, a whiskey bottle title. But otherwise, kind of a little too much. All right. Yeah, this one's milder, and that one's more forceful. Now, my recollection is that the Jack Daniels was pretty mild, not forceful or what we could say bold, sort of laid back. Now, some people might say, well, it's dull. You see, Jack Daniels rye is dull. Been on the market 3 years. I don't know how long Dickel's been on the market. The company's been around since 1870, but I don't know how long their rye whiskey's been around. I really don't know. They don't have a good history on their website. They just talk mainly about sort of like how the company changed their brand names and then got bought out over the years by different people and stuff like that. But they don't really go into specifically when each brand came out. Whereas the Jack Daniels website will say, then in 2017, we expanded our portfolio with the addition of Jack Daniels Tennessee straight rye whiskey. So it was very helpful. Boston Beer Company used to do that. Give a history of each brand. Whatever you clicked on, tell you it was introduced this year and all. It was very helpful. Then they just got, I don't know, like lazy, and they didn't want to put all that. Now you'd be lucky if you find the brand on the website. Spicy, definite charcoal, definitely, and wood, charred oak. But I don't know. I think it's that. See, these are both dripped through charcoal mellowed. Jack Daniels through sugar maple charcoal. I don't know about the Dickel. Even though the Dickel's from Indiana, they're copying the Tennessee method. They say they try to replicate it. You say, why don't they just make the rye down at Tullahoma, Tennessee at George Dickel? I really don't know. Maybe because they know that MGP has better rye, better than what they could make. These are close. Casey Phantom, cheers. Cheers to you. These are close. Is there a profound difference? No. What would be my determining factor in buying these? Well, it would be price. Much like yesterday, price. I would get whatever one was cheaper. They both have nice looking bottle designs. They both have quality flavor and aroma and body and finish. I really can't think of anything I complain about. You say, what are the negatives with these two rye whiskeys? I don't know. I don't believe there are any negatives. You say, well, then they're perfect. They're perfect rye whiskeys. Nearly so, yes. Maybe the Jack Daniels is a little bland. That could be the only negative. But it's such a minor consideration. I wouldn't dock many points for it. And people criticize me like, oh, you're always giving A's for these beers. A this, A that, A this. I said, well, they taste good. They're high quality. They have few, if any, faults. All right. That's the score, okay? I see it as a benefit where most every beer you try is in the at least the B plus level, B plus and higher. That's not a problem, you know? And it's not because I don't know what I'm doing. It's because I know that what I'm tasting is very good. Excellent. Most excellent. Outstanding. World class. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Sorry. But why am I sorry? You know, why am I sorry that most beer I try is really great? I don't apologize. Natty, yo, it's easy like Jay-Z and Snoop. Hey, you don't have to use all those capital letters. Island Natty, you just go capital for the first letter in the sentence and then lowercase. So we're going to try that. We're going to try that. I want you to try that. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the Dickel. I like it a little tiny bit better. But in my case, it was cheaper. But don't go by those prices I quoted. Those are aberrations. You'll never see a price that cheap. In almost no chance of that. You're not going to go to the store and get a bottle of George Dickel for $8.50. All right, maybe $18.50 if you're lucky. If you're lucky, chances are it won't be the $18.50. But you know, it could by some outlandish circumstance happen. But $8.50 was off the chain, you know, out the box, whatever kind of slang expression. Craziness. Jack Daniels Rye, are you going to find it for $11.98 a bottle? No way. Ain't going to happen. You might say, well, it happened to you. I know. But I'm in liquor paradise, so to speak. Louisiana has the cheapest liquor prices in the world. What about beer? Not really. No, our beer prices really aren't so cheap. They're average, I guess, slightly above average even. So forget beer. Wine, same thing. It's no kind of, you're not going to save any money coming here. But the liquor is crazy. Oh, good. Now you see, now you're doing it right. I like the way you're typing now. Capital letter to start the sentence and then lowercase. Am I going to church today? I know I went to mass yesterday, 4:00 mass at St. Hubert. Very nice. Lasted about an hour. He was going kind of slow. But the priest seemed very, you know, into it, into the singing and everything. He had a good voice, actually. So I said, well, ain't no use coming to church being in a rush. But, you know, I'm like that. I'm always in a rush with everything. You know, I don't have good patience, and my mind's always racing ahead. I'm like 5 thoughts ahead, which is not good. But that's just the way it is, I guess, with me thinking ahead. I'm doing rye whiskey. I'm thinking about the Canadian. That's styles down the road. All right. Well, here we go. I'm going to say this is the Dickel. I mean, what am I saying? Catch myself. The Jack Daniels. This is the Jack Daniels, JD. Oh, how you feel played. It's the Dickel, which is not the straight rye. It's just regular rye. Maybe that was the key. I forgot about that. I don't know if straight rye versus regular rye would make much of a difference, but it might. Can you buy regular bourbon and then buy straight bourbon? Yeah. Is there a big difference? I hadn't really noticed a big difference, but there could be, I guess. I got some regular old bourbon, right? I haven't even opened this. It's called Jesse James. You say Jesse James. I mean, after that like country star guy who I never heard of actually in my life. I say, yeah, him, who I don't know who that is, really. I don't keep up with popular culture too much, but I got it so cheap. Well, I was going to buy it. No doubt I was going to buy it. My friend David said, it's okay. He's probably right. I don't know. I haven't tried it. It just says bourbon. It doesn't say straight bourbon. People say bourbon, it has to be aged at least 2 years. No, it doesn't have to be aged any specific amount of time. That's for straight bourbon. Bourbon can be aged a month. I mean, it might look like hell, it might be it might be so light, it'll look like washed out iced tea or hot tea. It's got to be new barrels now. It's got to be new, never before used charred oak. It has to be oak. Doesn't matter what kind of oak. Early times, that's why it just says whiskey, because they no longer age it in new barrels. They age it in used barrels. They say on the bottle, used cooperage. Used to be straight bourbon years ago, but I don't know. I guess Brown-Forman, people that make Jack Daniels, decided, man, this stuff's cheap anyway. Ain't nobody going to care if we stop using new barrels. They won't notice. It'll still sell. It does. But boy, early times, I can find it sometimes for $8.99 a bottle. $8.99. And it can beat some bourbons. It can beat bourbons, yeah. I mean, it is a bourbon, really, but it's technically not. Due to one technical detail, which may or may not make much of a difference. In my case, tasting it, I haven't noticed much of a difference. But I don't have a certified palate. I don't have a certificate, unless I award myself one. Good morning, Ron. Peace symbol and the rising sun. Good morning to you, Max Volt. The sun is coming up. I'm about to go turn it off. Well, I got it wrong this morning. I don't feel too bad. I wish I would have gotten it right, but I don't have a lot of experience with these ryes. And these ryes taste very similar one to another. It's like the same. Kind of like bourbon. But don't let me say that on air, though. But what's coming up Tuesday? Well, it's Cascade Hollow from George Dickel. No longer produced, but I got a bottle of it. I saw a whole bunch of bottles of it. I think they're all gone now, though, at that store. Oh, what a deal I got. We'll talk about that Tuesday. What a deal I got. And I opened that bottle up last week. Cracked it open. Oh, man, it was so good. Yeah. And it's going to go into competition against all the other bourbons I've got, which is a pretty good amount. Is it going to win all the contests? No, I don't think so. But it'll compete. It'll definitely compete. That's the red label George Dickel Cascade Hollow. Or you might see it around. No longer produced. Let me retract that. It's no longer being bottled, the website says. The website doesn't say it's not being produced. It says it's not being currently bottled. How did they say it? It's not currently being bottled. That's an interesting way to state it, isn't it? So after we do the bourbon run, then it's going to be time for some JW Dance charcoal mellowed blended whiskey. You say, oh, no, not that. 80% grain spirits. Yeah, that. Well, it is what it is. Hey, you never know. Maybe that dance might be great. Their scotch is great. 3-year age, simple, blended scotch. That stuff is a dynamite. And it can blow up some $20 bottles. And it's only $8.99 a liter. I'm going to repeat that. $8.99 a liter. And it can blow up some doggone $20 bottles. So thanks for watching this taste challenge. Sorry I failed, but that's the risk you take when you're going live, I guess. So, but whatever, two beautiful products. Such a good flavor. Love it. Thanks.